The group consists of Marcina, Brian, Evan, Devin, Michelle, and Jacob. I'm Evan. I'm going to walk you through our user stories, and we were able to get through all 11 user stories. Adjusting how the status shows up ended up being user story number 18, and Michelle handled this story. It was a change up here to the status where you can, when it is actually overdue, it shows just overdue. It doesn't show failed. The improvement for adding bookmarks to the notes quickly ended up being user story number 17. Devin handled this improvement in Memoranda, and what it does is allows you, if you've got a note selected, you can just click and then you're automatically, you have a star there. If you want to unclick it, you can do the same. Just makes it a lot easier to bookmark your notes, and then they still show up in the bookmark selection here at the bottom. Being able to open a website with a default browser for your system ended up being user story number 16. Jacob handled this story. You have an option now where you can go to preferences and you can choose browser settings, and it'll now have an option for default browser, and it's going to use the default web browser. So now when you choose something that would open in a web browser, it's going to open in your default browser. Calendar sizing ended up being user story number 4. I worked on this story. Basically, the default calendar size starts larger now. You can still make it wider if you need to and adjust it. Also, the height of the calendar was adjusted so it's taller. Makes it a lot more readable compared to the original. The user story dealing with the X in the upper right hand corner not working became user story number 22. I worked on this user story, and we basically changed it so that the functionality is the same as when you exit the program. There was also a bug in the program where when you went to cancel the exit, it would still exit, so that was an issue that we resolved as well. Getting back to the current date ended up being user story number 20. Michelle handled this story. Basically, you can really easily tell now what these buttons do because they're labeled. Dealing with consistency when moving around the calendar and statuses became user story number 19. Marcelina handled this particular story, and now whenever you move around the calendar to go from one date to the other, the statuses are not changing anymore. The minimize function not working became user story number 21. Brian handled this user story. So now when you minimize the program, it comes down to an icon and it can be brought back from that icon. Dealing with the project selection, making that more intuitive, ended up being user story number 11. Jacob handled this story, and now when you're dealing with the projects, you can switch back and forth with a single click. You can see now it changes and you easily know what project that you're on without having to double click and create just a new project quickly, and now you have a new project with a date and time that you started it. And you still have the original option of adding a new custom project. One of the features that we wanted to add into Memoranda to improve it was a screen capture method to make it easier if you're working on a document to capture a screenshot of what you're working on. I worked on this story. This is user story number 5. There's a camera icon over here where you can click to add a screenshot. A window will pop up to choose the name for your screen capture. Once you do that, it automatically loads in the saved screen cap. And there we have our screen capture that's inserted into our current note. Now we also have the option to capture an image and create a new note from that image. And when you do that, you get the same screen capture prompt. You're going to be able to click on yes to capture. And now we've inserted it and we have a place up here where we can put a title. Another thing during the screen capture that was identified in the notes section was it did not have any built-in way to create a new note. So the plus sign was added so that you could actually start save a new note if you're working on one. User story number 9 was to simplify the way a user changes task rather than having to do it through a pop-up menu. Now if you just click, the menu automatically comes up over here whereas before you had to right click on it and then choose to edit the task, and then it would be done through a pop-up. And finally, here's a look at what our Scrum board looks like at the end of sprint number 1.